Good evening. Welcome to the Let's Talk Maywood on Diversity Today Media. I am your host, Dr. Reggie Ratliff, and joining me is my co-host, my co-laborer in the vineyard, and expert investment advisor, Terrence Hollisworth. Terry, how you doing this evening?
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Not
We had
much,
some
man.
technical we had some technical difficulties. I ain't gonna say who the blame is, but we're just gonna leave it at that.
We're gonna keep working through it, man. We're gonna keep plugging away, man. But just getting right into it. Um, I don't know how hot it is in Iowa, but out here in the DMV, it's in the mid 90s, and it's gonna reach up to a 100 degrees, but it's gonna feel like 105 over the next 3 days. So be careful.
Yeah.
Drink plenty of water, man, and Gatorade.
It's
So
99 degrees here tomorrow, I think. And we had this big bike ride called Rag
woo,
Ride. And
woo.
these guys are going 80 miles in the middle of the day. And,
Mm-mm.
I
Mm-mm.
don't
They
know
ain't
how
going
they
80
do
miles. They ain't going 80 miles. They might go 8 or 18, but they not gonna see no 80 without passing out. So praying for safe journey for those individuals. But yeah, the heat index is where it comes in, man. Because I went running a couple days ago, and it wasn't even the heat; it was the humidity. And after I finished running, like a couple hours later, I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" I drank some water, but obviously I didn't drink enough. So I was like drinking water, Gatorade, and then I started to get, start to feel better and better. But man, this heat is no joke. It's no joke.
Yeah, I haven't been on my bike much. I'm gonna be honest with you. I certainly am not running 5 and 6 miles like you're doing, but
If you notice, I've
it's
been,
just kind of what it is.
look, the last couple of days, man, I've been in LA Fitness. I'm like, I'll just run in place for 45 minutes and then just lift some weight. It's true, because I ain't stupid. Those cutting weight days and everything, they are done. I don't even have to do that anymore. You know, just do it for
Yes,
fun, right?
sir.
So, real quick, Terry, the Federal Reserve raised the interest rate by a quarter of a basis points today.
Yeah.
So Powell was talking about the CPI, Consumer Price Index, and how that would impact consumer spending and just the economy as a whole. Can you talk about that for a moment, as far as like that impact that raise the
Yeah.
increase?
So the truth is that here's a quick rundown. Um, there was a friend of mine who was on Facebook yesterday, and they were talking about how they were wanting to refinance their car loan, and they were like, "I want to get it under 4%." And I said, it's not going to happen. The Fed funds rate was 5.25 yesterday.
Yeah.
Um, Today is 5.5,
Hmm.
and the way that finance companies make money is that the Fed funds rate is this, and then they charge something on top of that, and that's how they make it. So,
Right.
um, you know, she's never getting 4%
Mm-mm.
because one, it's the Fed funds rate is above that. Secondly, it's going to stay above that because inflation is above 2%, which is what their goal is. And they say as long as inflation is above 2%, they're going to
Hmm.
continue to raise interest rates.
Hmm.
And that's the space that we're in.
So I know that they were talking on Bloomberg, for example, and other financial networks, that they may increase it two more times by the end of this year if it doesn't continue to change. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the thing about it is, I don't know if we should totally get stuck on what the interest rates are. I mean, at the end of the day, there's some rules out there that look like this.
Hmm.
You can't really control the interest rates except you can control your credit score, right?
Hmm.
So pay your bills on time. Don't use too
Yes, sir.
much of your credit score. That's what 70% or something of your
Yeah.
credits, and
Hmm.
get it above 700, and you're going to get the lowest possible rates. But then ultimately, you can't pay your minimums, right?
Right.
So if the
Right.
minimum is $200, find a way to pay $300 and pay
Hmm.
less in interest over time. You pay it off before the terms in which you borrowed, and that ultimately that's how you can save money
Those
when
are
you borrow.
great. Yeah, good words of wisdom, man. You and I have been talking about this for a while, installing, finance classes in the schools, start as young as elementary school and build your way through high school,
Yeah.
especially underserved communities. And I have the good fortune of working with the Greater Washington D.C. Boys and Girls Club, and I'm teaching them finance and investments. And you know what? They love it. Talking about numbers and how it equates to real life application and everything. And you know, it's not as boring as the adults say the kids will think it as, but they actually are into it. They love that kind of thing. So we need to get more out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the I'm going to get off, right? Because we have a very important thing to talk about tonight. And, I'm more long winded like a preacher. So I will keep on talking. And, that'll be that. But
But I
let,
gotta say this one thing though, Terry.
okay.
Speaking of economy, Jalen Brown, all right, and sports signed a contract over $300 million. You hear
Yeah,
that?
buddy.
300 million.
Yeah.
300 million. That's more than $250 million, right?
We should have this conversation, though, in a different way.
I know.
Let's have the business conversation real soon about, is this the peak of these contracts, right? Because they're
Mm-hmm.
based off of what their collective bargaining agreement and things like this. And
Yeah,
we may be looking at the peak right now, but let's have it another day
we're
because
gonna. Yeah,
as it relates to sports, we got a really important conversation tonight about
yeah.
combining sports at Proviso East and Proviso West. Is it the right time? Should they just leave the conference altogether? Is that the right time? We're grappling with some of the same things in Iowa, to be
Mm,
totally honest.
mm.
So I would love to. I can't wait to hear from the Proviso West coach
Yes,
and
sir.
feedback from the community. So I'm going to be quiet. I will talk to everybody later.
This will be the conversation of the summer. I guarantee. It's a hot topic, and I would like to introduce Coach Scottie Ware. Coach Ware was born and raised in Maywood, so he does have a direct Maywood connection. He's married and a father of 4 children, self-employed, owning multiple businesses, including barbershops in the village of Maywood. He attended Proviso East until his junior year when he transferred to Down Grove South. He was a 5-year Navy veteran and currently pursuing a degree in sports management. He is, as of today, the head football coach at Proviso West High School. He was noted as a 2023 Proviso West Coach of the Year. In 17 years at Proviso East, Coach Ware coached football, basketball, and track, and was a Proviso West coach for 4 years. He served 5 years, as I mentioned, in the Navy, pursuing his degree, which you can never talk enough about when our young brothers out there pursuing the halls of higher academia. So let's welcome Coach Ware to Let's Talk Maywood. Coach Ware.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. Good evening to you. How you
Same
feeling?
to you.
Good, good, good. So when this topic was brought up, Coach Ware, to combine sports, football, what have you, it grew a whole discussion in itself online.
Oh yeah.
So your reputation precedes you. You have a great reputation in the community. You from the community. I want to thank you for your service first and foremost, serving
Thank
in
you.
the Navy. Um, but a lot of people had comments. Some were for it. A lot of people were for it. There were some who were against it, but then they're saying that there's some politics involved with it. And, we're going to talk about your current status as coach. But let's start by talking about your experiences growing up in Maywood. How was that like for you?
I'm a person that actually love where I'm from. I love that I'm from Maywood. I wouldn't change it for the world. Like I grew up wanting to go to Proviso East. Wanted to wear that blue uniform. Definitely, I bleed blue. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
get where the people are coming from. I'm definitely one of those as well. You'd have asked me 10 years ago, I would have told you I'll never go over to West and coach. You
Right,
know,
right.
but God made a way, and I ended up here instead of over there. And again, I wouldn't change that for the world too. I've established some great relationships over here, and just the times that I've spent in Maywood. My dad had an ice cream truck. I was the youngest of 5 kids, so some people say I got an old soul because I got some brothers and sisters that are 11, 12 years older than me. So
Yeah.
the large range of people that I know, from my brothers down to to me and my sisters, it's this pretty popular person in the Maywood, Bellwood community. So,
Yes, good stuff. Good stuff. So, Coach Ware, about Maywood, obviously. You know sports, obviously. You know the landscape of Maywood, if you will. You know the landscape of Maywood through Hillside, East and
yeah.
West. You know, this ideal came from you, I understand, correct?
Yes.
To combine the football programs between Proviso East and Proviso West. Can you
Yes.
talk about that for a moment? What was your vision of that, and how did that come out?
Like I said, I've been coaching football within this district for 17 years now. So I've seen the demographics change in the community. Over that time span, as my presentation showed, that we're at 68% Hispanic population. After saying this coming years ago, and I started mentioning it, doing a little groundwork, but just over this last year, I really dove into this thing and really did all my research, did my due diligence, got my analytics together, and looking at it on paper, it makes complete sense. And now we're at this point where we're a 68% Hispanic population, and just the Hispanics traditionally don't play football. It's the same time as soccer season in high school. So if they are going to play a sport, it's not going to be mine.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still going to be judged as an 8A school, which is, I don't know if some people know, that's just a powerhouse in the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely in the toughest conference in the state of Illinois with the West Suburban Silver. So to go to a game with 30 players, and I'm getting off the bus at Glenbar West, they got 150 on varsity. That game is over before it even starts.
Right.
And it's got me to the point where I don't think it's fair for our children.
Right.
It's definitely not safe.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it just got to the point where I was like, you know what? I was all for this rivalry years ago.
Right.
Now it's just a battle of two last place teams because we both finished in last place in the conference for the last 12 years.
Wow.
I mean, a stat that the viewers that are watching don't know that I put in my presentation, over the last 11 years, only 24 games have been won combined.
Wow.
And 12 of those were against each other.
Oh my goodness.
So when you look at it like that,
yeah.
I mean, we've been outscored combined 6,500 to 2,000.
Wow.
So it's not like we've been competing. I mean, we're really not giving our kids a fair shake. As I stated in my presentation, I'm not saying the talent is in the community, because it is, because Nazareth won 6A state championship this year.
Right.
They had 9 players from Maywood, Bellwood. ICC and Elmhurst won state at 2A. Same thing. They had 9, 10 players. But we just, traditionally, we just don't have a program, with all these NIL deals going on and things of that nature. Parents are really setting their kids up for the best opportunity to be successful.
Sure.
To be honest, if we take the emotion out, how is Proviso East or Proviso West one of those opportunities? If I can go out here and get a safer, I'm not going to say better education, because PMSA is ranked higher than those schools academically.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a safer environment and things of that nature. So
right.
I got to be a parent before I'm a coach.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I still go out and recruit, but I'm not mad at the parents when they tell me, hey, I'm going to send my kid over to this private school.
So let's put a pin on that for a second, Coach. You mentioned NIL deals. So NIL deals start at the college level. Yeah. So what is it about them going to?
They started technically.
Technically. Come on, man. We know. So we public, and I'm like, I understand. I understand the game. Trust me. I wrestled at Proviso East.
I did my research on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So NIL deals, you mentioned, as it relates to high schoolers. Are you saying that they will be in a position where they set up to do well at a ICC or Nazareth or Martini or, whatever, to go to a school that's reputable that gives NIL deals to those, as opposed to if they were to go to East or West?
No, I'm not saying that, because what I'm saying is these teams traditionally go far in the playoffs. Again, like I say, 2 teams in our community won state championships with our players. So our kids, like me and you grew up, we watched Michael Jordan get beat by Detroit
3 or 4 straight years.
And he just said, you know what, eventually I'm going to beat this man. I'm going to beat that team. That's where these kids now grew up and watch LeBron switch teams every year, Kevin Durant switch. So it's just a different mindset with our youth right now. They don't have that grind and grit, like, you know what, I'm going to stick it out. They just want to be a part of a winning program. Okay. And right now we don't have that to offer.
Is that the school's fault? Is it not even a fault, But with parents making those decisions, because we got several programs, youth programs in Maywood alone that that play football. So, I mean, if they were to come together and not be tempted or, swayed into playing in other communities, don't you think that East and or West will have their own powerhouse if we were to work together?
One of my goal was when I first started this journey, I wanted to combine the football programs at East. At that point, I was going to attack the youth programs. Right now, we currently have 3 youth football programs
Right.
that are functioning out of the Proviso Township area.
Right.
And that same demographic number I gave you about the 68% Hispanic, it still falls into the youth area, the feeder programs as well.
Right.
So right now it's 3 programs, and none of them have like a 12U team, a 13U team. So they just don't have the numbers collectively to fulfill a program. So they got the same issues down there that I have. And the problem is they don't want to work with each other. They don't like each other. So, but I got to fix one thing at a time. So my thing was to fix it on this level. And I think even if we combine and merge right now, one Proviso will be a playoff team this coming year. You know what I mean? With a month after the season. So then it would be a lot easier conversation for me to go to the youth like, hey, you guys see what we did on this level. I'm not telling you to do something I didn't already done. And hopefully they will follow suit, and then we combine those programs. Because right now they're pulling and put scraps from each other, and it's not successful at all.
So you mentioned before the podcast started that there was a summer program or summer camp or something that had students from East and West, but between the 2 schools there was only a combined 57 players.
That was today. That was an hour ago.
Today. Oh.
So, I just did a joint practice with Coach Peppers. Coach Peppers called me and asked me would I bring the guys over. We did a 7-on-7 joint practice.
Yeah.
I had my guys do a count. It was 57 players combined, and this is supposed to make up 6 football teams: 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, 2 varsities. Here we are, 29 days from game 1, and this is where we at. So I mean, we have 2 football games before school starts. Now, normally we get an influx of kids to come when school starts, but to be at 57 total, and we haven't had eligibility, haven't had an injury, you know what I mean? Those numbers are going to drop. I just don't foresee, this working out for anyone. And so why are we setting our kids up for failure? Why climb that type of hill and have that type of battle? Right. We can try to fix it.
So, Coach Pep, is he? Did you have a conversation with him about combining the football program?
I want to say this before I answer. People are trying to pit me and Coach Peppers together. Coach Pepper is one of my best friends. And just like anybody, I look at him like an older brother. I called him. I asked for advice. Coach Pepper is the reason I coach football. He told me 15 years ago, hey, Scottie, you're going to be the volunteer coach on freshman B. And he didn't ask me. He told me.
Wow.
Me up the chain of command, and now I'm the head coach over here. But Coach Pepper's not in favor of the merger, and I'm not mad at him. We can agree to disagree.
Right.
He's got some valid points why he doesn't think it should, and I know I do as well. I'm just pretty much going off numbers and facts. You know what I mean? I'm not. I've completely pulled the emotions out of this. You know what I mean? It's all about facts at this point, and that's just where we are with it. But yes, we have had a conversation. We continually to have a conversation. Like I said, we practiced together today, so there's no beef there at all. Where the community might be trying to pit us against each other, not whatsoever. Let it go.
Well, like I said, on social media, and I'm sure you saw it on your page or what have you. There's been those who are for it, those against it, particularly sports like football, because I know the concern regarding football is a risk of injury. Kids, low numbers playing on both sides of the ball, that could risk further injury. And, if you're playing in the hot sun, like in August, September, it's hot as Hades, and you got the equipment on, Jack. I mean, that's hot. I mean, you risking passing out, heat stroke, or whatever the case may be. So, what are some of the other dangers or things like that could happen if they just stick with East and West with the low numbers as far as football is concerned? Me
personally, I don't, just based on the numbers, and like I said, I'm not a guy that just got around here. I've been in this for years, so I've foreseen this type of thing, and I like I said, on both sides now. There's not too many that can speak like I have because I played on one side, coached on one side, now I'm coaching on the other. So I've seen it collectively what goes on, and I can foresee us having some forfeits this year because we're not going to have, even if I have 40 guys on the lower level, football is too physical to have a kid that's 13, 14 years old coming into high school lining up against a guy 17, 18 that's been lifting weights and things of that nature.
Right.
So just like the NFL, you have to be 3 years removed from high school in order to be eligible to play in the NFL.
Right.
It's really no different on our level. A freshman is not ready to physically line up against a senior.
Right.
And me personally, I can't speak for Coach Peppers. I'm not going to put my kids in any type of danger like that. So I'm going to play the guys that I know are physically able to handle themselves on that level.
I understand exactly what you're talking about, especially when you talk about the conference that you're in, the West Suburban Conference Silver. That's the old heads, right? Is it Oak Park in there? Of course, Proviso West. York. Is York in there?
Yep. York, Glenbard West,
LT.
And Downers North.
Downers Grove South, right?
North.
Okay. So
out of those teams, 5 of them will be in the top 25.
Wow.
4 of them will be in the top 12.
Oh yeah, every year.
So
every year.
Hands down on my side, I have the year in and year out. I might have the toughest schedule in the state of Illinois, and I'm going to these show up as you seen in my presentation. I mean, I'm lining up like when I played York last year. I went over there. I was 2-0. Everybody was so excited. We're changing the program around.
Right.
They beat me 50-0. And this is battle with 2 unbeaten teams, but I just remember looking at when we were doing the national anthem. I'm in my end zone and they're in theirs. I got 33.
Right.
They had double numbers because they had over 100.
Yeah.
So that's tough. So when they're sending in special teams, a fresh 11 are going in.
Right.
I got one guy coming off because I don't want to get my quarterback hurt.
Right.
Just over time, you're gonna, those games you can't compete. You're gonna lose.
Right. For sure. When did you win Coach of the Year?
This year, June 7th, I was awarded that.
So 2023, you win Coach of the Year.
Yes.
Today, you may be out of a job.
Definitely. Monday, they put the list out for the new coaches to be hired in the district. Actually, let me back up. Last week, they released it, and it didn't have my name or Coach Pepper's name of all the coaches that are going to be retained in the district.
Right.
So, everybody was scrambling, wondering what was going on, and then come to find out, they said they wanted more candidates for the coaching job. So they interviewed a coach from Simeon and the coach. I heard he was from Morgan Park, but I've been told that's not true. So I'm not sure what other guys from.
Okay.
Those interviews happened this past Friday. So this Monday morning, my phone's ringing like crazy because my name isn't on the board agenda to be the head coach. And here we are 30 days from the first game of the season.
Right.
And this is merely, because I'm the big bad guy that wants safety for our kids and want our kids to have a chance. So it meant that much to them to find a new coach 30 days prior to us having our first game. So yes, if I speak to you right now, I am not the head football coach of Proviso West, and Aaron Peppers is not the head football coach of Proviso East.
Do you believe that's out of retaliation because you brought this ideal up to merge the two teams?
So the thing about it, I've had this thing in the making for a long time. I reached out to some board members. I reached out to the athletic directors that are above me. I followed the chain of command. I even asked, is it okay if I put my presentation on, the Best of Proviso page? My athletic director told me it was okay. His suggestion that I put the survey on there just to get feedback from the community. I've been told by board members, hey, let's get feedback from the community, see what they think. I did just that. I did that the first week of June, which was prior to the Proviso East alumni picnic. So there was a huge buzz about that at that time. And that was, June 8th, I believe it was.
Okay. Yeah, it was.
June 20th, my name was not on to be rehired. And that's just, I don't want to call it retaliation, but I can't think of what else it could possibly be. And like I said, a month ago, I was deemed Coach of the Year. Now, coaches that weren't Coach of the Year have been retained. But Scottie Ware got to go. The nerve of him.
Well, okay. This is kind of blowing my mind because you were Coach of the Year, and I'm looking at some of the comments from some people, and I see you comment there from Coach Bob Wortell, make it in January, definitely before the season, but 30 days prior to or 29 days before week 1. that's bad timing to say the least. Just being diplomatic about it.
And if you have a successful football program, it's no such thing as an off season because we've been in the weight room since January 9th. I got coaches, my assistant coaches, they make $6,500 a year. I make close to $8,000. But when you look at that over the course of a year, I was being here, we talking about 12 to 15 cents an hour because I'm at this school every single day. If this would have been a thing that happened back in November, December, I would probably throw my hands up. Okay, you guys want to go in a different direction? Yes, I feel like I'm turning this program around. We went 3-6 last year. That hasn't happened in years. Every year, this is my 4th year. Every year I've been there, I've won one more game than the previous year. So I can hang my hat on that. I'm turning this thing around, but it takes time with football. You know what I mean?
So some of the alumni who played football at Proviso East, some standouts who went on to play professionally, like Dean Tebow, who was a class of '84 graduate. He said, I guess I could get my mind around it as I changed east to west from high school to college, even changed from blue to red. So, that's his Proviso East colors to his college in Western Kentucky. But his point was he could understand your position in terms of merging football programs. And even, some people like, Greg Kelly, who's a, attorney, famed attorney, the president of SEIU, he said he's fine with combining even sports, not just football. So enrollment variation, extracurricular participation should drive these questions, not sentimentality. Sentimentality got us a stadium named after someone who has no real sports legacy at the school. Olympians and pro athletes abound, but our stadium is named after an elected school board member. So in his position, there is some politics behind it. And then you have somebody on the other end. Mr. Debo Harvey said merging schools is the easy way out. The administration needs to figure out how to increase student participation in all extracurricular activities, so forth and so on. So you hear from both sides of the equation. So I guess it's going to come down to the vote on Thursday, right? To determine if you'll be retained. Coach Pepper will be retained. But one thing in any sport is that you need time for the students to adjust to a new coach, not just the coach. So I'm confident with the 3 new board members who are there that they have an understanding of the position that you're in and the kids, most importantly. Because if they do bring in a coach, they could be Mike Singletary. I mean, they could be anybody.
Nick Saban.
They could be Nick Saban, who won 8 national championships. Anybody. But they still have to adjust to that coach, the system, the plays. The numbers will still be low.
Exactly. Right? And I think that was just the whole thing with the coaching thing, taking me and Pepper's name off the list, in my opinion, was just to take the conversation of the merger off the table. Because now that hasn't been talked about in the last couple of weeks because this is more pressing of an issue than there's no coach in place. But let's say tomorrow they say, all right, Coach Ware, Coach Peppers, you guys got one more year to get this done. We still got the elephant in the room that today I had a practice with 57 players combined, and that's supposed to be 6 different football teams. And nobody wants to talk about that. You know what I mean? So when we get to these games, week 1, week 2, and even get further into the season, week 6 and 7, and I turn around, I got 11 on the field and 5 or 6 in back of me. Is that my fault? Is that how I'm evaluated? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a registrar. I don't. It's my job to get kids in school, and by all means, anybody that knows me, especially in the Maywood community, I beat the streets to get kids to come out. Like, I'm that. Over the years, I've been that coach that's above and beyond. You'll see kids with me constantly around me. Hey, coach, I gotta do anything, even well after they graduate. You know what I mean? I'm that glue coach from the community, especially in the Maywood area.
For sure.
But Maywood's a little different than the Hillside Bellwood area.
Oh yeah.
On it, but it's just you know what I mean.
It's different.
It's definitely different. So now me having a barbershop in the community, now these guys have somewhere to come back and find me. You know what I mean? So it's just a different atmosphere. So like I said, we get down to it. We're talking 6 weeks from now. If we got 57 now, and like I said, we haven't had one eligibility report ran. We haven't had one injury yet.
Right.
Where our numbers going to be, then? And it's like nobody wants to talk about that. I haven't had, you've read through those comments, you haven't had one person say that my data wasn't true.
Right.
If that's the case, everybody's agreeing that there is a problem.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that my solution has to be the one, but I'm not getting any feedback. Like, we got to try something.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else. Trust me, I exhausted every possibility. This was the last resort for me.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I don't know now at this point. 2 months ago, this was something I wanted to do, but now the way the numbers are, this is something it has to happen at this point.
Do you know if the enrollment is up or down in
It's
terms of
definitely down. Definitely
down?
down in the district.
Okay. So historically shows that there have been other sports programs who have merged, not just one sport, but most sports. I think about Leiden when they merged their athletic programs, Morton, they merged their athletic programs, Joliet, for a time, merged their athletic programs, including basketball. I believe Bloom Township merged, but I could be wrong.
East
But
St. Louis.
East St. Louis.
It used to be East St. Louis
Yeah.
Senior. You remember when it was
Yeah.
East St. Louis Senior and East
Yep.
St. Louis,
Yep.
Lincoln. So
Yep.
now,
Absolutely.
and you started off mentioning Morton and Leiden, and that's a great one to mention because they're in our conference.
Yep.
And again, it's only 4 schools in our entire conference out of the 14 that have over 50% Hispanic population. Proviso East, Proviso West, Morton, and Leiden.
Right.
Morton has 8,000 students. They're number like 6 in the country, and they have 1 football team. We have 4,500 students, and we want to have 2. Same thing with Leiden. Leiden is probably about 65% Hispanic as well.
Right.
1 football program. You know what I mean? Like I said, the majority of this is people think that this is going to be a snowball effect, and all the other sports are going to be combined. And I understand it is not. I don't know. One thing I do know is that those other sports aren't physically taxing and dangerous like football is.
Right.
So if people are mad at me to think I'm trying to do this with all sports, that's not the case. Do I foresee it happening in the future? Definitely, because we're a 68% Hispanic population now. That number's not going to stop.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's going to keep rising. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think about all the other sports, even the non-revenue sports like wrestling. The coach from West, Coach Juwan, he's like, that ain't gonna happen. Coach Baker, they're not gonna go for that. But baseball, they have a tradition. Both schools have tradition. Track and field, they both have strong track programs. Basketball, I don't even know why we mentioned that. They never, ever, ever are going to combine. That's the one sport for sure. That and maybe wrestling. But hey, it's all about money. It's all about numbers. But in terms of football, you're right, the most physical sport, where kids could actually die on the football field.
Yeah.
By not being prepared.
The thing about it too, but I hate that people aren't realizing we definitely have funding issues. Like as I sit here and talk to you right now, this very second, I'm at the school. It's not one helmet or one shoulder pad here in the school. I don't have my equipment yet. So, we're talking about, you think about us merging. Now we're cutting the budget in half, but I guarantee we'll double the revenue. Because just imagine how packed the East and West games are now. So just imagine if we're as one, you know what I mean, and be successful. Like I definitely would want us to go into the gold side and take Proviso East's schedule. And I think immediately we're the number 1 team in that conference. So now we're playing 3 or 4 more games a year because we're in the playoffs. And I think eventually now we get some of those kids that were going to IC, going to NAS, now they're staying home. Because if it comes down to education, they can go to PMSA.
Right.
We ranked higher than those schools. And now, we'll play any of those schools. Like I believe we can beat IC now because that's 2-3 football. It's not the same. It's not as tough, and things of that nature. But these kids want to win. I don't blame them.
Right.
This is something we can fix, and then we start keeping our kids home.
Obviously, there's a rival that's stemmed for decades between Proviso East and Proviso West. Focusing on football, how do you think the fans will receive such a move to combine the football program? Do you think they would come to the games? They'd be in favor?
Yeah, definitely. I believe so. And like what I would want to do, like I said, I'm not trying to. I don't want to get rid of the rivalry completely. So just to give you a heads up, like for those who know, there's always a game before week 1 where Proviso East, they had a blue-white game. Proviso West has a red-white game.
Right.
I would keep that game red and blue. So
okay.
The kids that are merged. So we still can have our little rivalry.
Right.
I would let the parents. That would be the day I want the whole community from either side to come out, have a cookout, and we merge and become one. But then the following week, we're one. We're still not a huge program, but now we've given our kids a fighting chance. So I'm not trying to, even with the demographic where the locations of the game, I would like to have half the games at East, half the games at West. So no community feels shunned in any way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's just keep it. All I got to do is put on the schedule. Hey, this game is going to be at the East campus. This game is going to be at the West campus. So nobody feels any type of way. And I believe that winning cures everything.
Oh yeah.
Proviso East has won 4 games, and out of those 12 years, they won 4 games. Now, I saw somebody comment that said that they went to the playoffs a few years ago. Those games were taken away because they got caught cheating. So some people might count that. I don't count that.
Is that the year that was led by Phil Macklin, who was a player of the year?
No, Phil Macklin was 90.
Was that the late 90s? 98, yeah. Okay.
This was 2018.
Oh, right.
They had the scandal and everything.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So, Coach Aaron Peppers was there in 08. That was the last time they had made the playoffs. So here we are talking about 15 since then. But it's like I said, it's collectively, even back then, the feeder programs were good. Coach Famous Herbert over here at West, he had a good feeder program with the Memorial Park Spartans. Now their numbers are horrible. The Proviso Township Bills numbers are horrible. The Maywood Bucks don't exist anymore. You know what I mean? So, and again, this all goes back to my presentation. The demographics here have changed.
Yeah.
You think Washington is now Washington dual language.
Yeah. Lexington is closed.
Exactly. So you think about that. Things have changed. It's like the people in the community don't want to adapt with change. Like I'm not, like I tell everybody, I just put that presentation together. I didn't make it up.
Right.
The numbers and facts preceded me.
Right. You did your research.
That's all I did.
Yeah, for sure. So as we wind up this podcast, thank you again, Coach Ware, for coming on.
Appreciate you.
I know there's a lot going on with you and your, the moves you're trying to make on behalf of the football program. What's next for you? I know that there's a board meeting. Will you be attending the board meeting and asked to speak? What's going on with you?
I spoke at the last board meeting, and that didn't really get me anywhere. It might have made things worse. So I'll definitely be in attendance. I'm not sure if I'm going to speak. I know there's going to be some community involvement because the community is in an uproar right now. Because, like I said, we're 30 days out. And then one thing that I'm glad you brought that back up, we're 30 days out, but next week is a dead period for IHSA. So technically, I'm not supposed to have any contact, me or any other coach, with the kids. So now we're talking about 30 days out. So out of those 30 days, you figure 20 might have been practices. You got to take 5 of those off because next week I'm not supposed to make contact.
Right.
You want to bring a coach in who really can't meet the kids to the following week legally.
Wow.
So, like I said, I'm not going to use the word retaliation, but I would love for somebody to tell me something else it would be. And my thing is, you want to retaliate, hurt me, don't hurt the kids.
Yeah.
And one thing I like to add to that on air, I've said this repeatedly, and I want this to be known to the masses. This isn't about me. I said this to Coach Peppers. I've said this to the athletic directors. If it comes down to somebody has something personal against Scottie Ware and they don't want him involved, I'm completely cool with walking away. Do the merge anyway and just let Coach Peppers be the coach. That's how much it means to me.
Well said. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. You made it. You took yourself totally out the picture.
Definitely.
Definitely think about the kids and the safety of the kids. And that's why, as we wind this up, man, that's my concern. Has the football schedule even gone out yet?
Oh, yeah. We play. I open up August 25th with Thornton Fractional North. Proviso East opened up the same day with West Aurora. And then we're scheduled to play each other week 2.
Already? Those you play homecoming or something, right?
Well, it's normally been traditionally the last game of the season. And even with that, that's after that game, the numbers are going to drop too. Because some of these kids, it takes a special person to want to play football. But there's nothing normal about me wanting to run into you full speed and collision with you. That's not for everybody. But some of these kids are so wrapped up and just want to play in the East-West game, they stick around because normally the last game of the season. So they'll stick around for that. But now that game is going to be week 2, remember you heard it from me first. The numbers are going to drop after that.
Wow. Well, my hope is that the board will consider your comments and your ideal. And as a brother from Maywood, the village of Maywood, 21 block strong, Pirate Nation, I hope that you have support from us because you definitely have my support, my brother. And, I want to end it right there, but I want to give you a minute or two to make your final words, your closing statement, closing your case, and the stage is yours.
Okay, all I ask for those that are listening, those that are involved, 2 things. One, take the emotions out of this. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm all for the tradition, for the rivalry. But here we are at this point. We've traditionally, for the last 12 to 15 years, just been the battle of 2 last place teams. And, why do we want to hang our head on that? Secondly, like I said, put the kids first. It's not about me. It's not about Coach Peppers. It's not about adults. It's just us trying to give our kids the opportunity to at least compete, give a chance to go on to the next level and perform and have them prepared for that. And I just think at this point, more than emotions, it's a safety issue. You know, like I said, you feel those first few weeks, we're going to have 90-degree weather. And I could honestly, right now, if I just did a frost off in the varsity, I would have about 15 players on each team. That's not football. That's not football down in the South. You know, when they 1A football, they have more players than that. So, like I said, by all means, anybody have any questions, I'm all for talking about this. And I'm even more open to taking suggestions. You know, guys that are listening to this, please inbox me on Facebook, ask me some questions. I'm going to answer the questions on Facebook so you can, you know, the community can see I'm completely transparent with this. And I just, like I said, I just want what's best for the kids. Take me out of it. Let Coach Peppers be the coach, but we have to do this.
Well, hopefully it doesn't come to that, Coach Ware. Hopefully, you know, you remain as coach at Proviso West, a minimum if they entertain a merger, even if not this season, next season, that you will be on staff. I know Coach Peppers personally. He's a good brother, known him for decades, and he's definitely, like yourself, represent the village of Maywood very well. So, you know, the discussion, I'm sure, will continue after this podcast. But in the meantime, those who participated with your comments, thank you very much. Those who watch this podcast, please continue to keep our kids in prayer, because this is going to be a decision that's going to determine the safety of our students on Thursday. So please attend if you can. And then until next time, when we bring our next phenomenal guests, I am Dr. Reggie Ratliff. Thank you for tuning in. Please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us with us on YouTube. Have a good evening. Stay safe, stay cool. Good night.